And welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. We are breaking down each position heading into the 2021 draft. So according to Ryan Wilson, and today we're talking linebackers here, these are his rankings, 1 through 5. And we're going to see if our Bryant McFadden agrees. Let's welcome in our good friend, Ryan Wilson and Bryant McFadden. All right, Ryan, start with Micah Parsons there at number 1 out of Penn State. You noted on your latest mock draft on CBSSports.com that he could actually be in the top 5 if there's not a run on quarterbacks and offensive linemen.
And I said that, Amanda, knowing full well that he opted out of the 2020 season. He is that special. I talked to scouts during the season when he had already opted out several months before. They did not care. They had zero concerns about Micah Parsons, the linebacker. Yes, he only played 2 years at Penn State, but the last season in 2019 was absolutely lights out. So there was so much to like about what he was able to do from the limited tape. And he is unbelievably explosive. He is built like Saquon Barkley, a former Penn State alum as well. He runs as fast as, he hits like a Mack truck. He is the modern day quote unquote linebacker that we've seen come out of the draft class in recent years, like the Devin Whites who starred in the Super Bowl, the Devin Bushes. The Steelers traded up to get him as high as number 10. Micah Parsons is a better player than both of these players, and both of those guys that I just mentioned are really special. I expect the same thing from Micah Parsons.
B-Mac, let's go to the number 2 guy on Ryan's list there, Zaven Collins. I'm not sure if you were watching a lot of Tulsa tape before, but he had you watching it. Give us your breakdown of him and how far behind Parsons you think he is.
Well, he's far. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see one linebacker go in the first round in Parsons. But Zaven Collins clearly would be a second-round selection, 6'4", 260 plus. He has hardware to back his tape. Won the Nagorski last year in the Benerick in 2020. In his career, over 200 tackles. He really developed from 2019 to 2020. He's a good blitzer, very, very instinctive. He reads and reacts very, very well. I have concerns with his top-end speed. He might not be the best athlete at the linebacker position, but he's just a pure football player. I would love to see him play more violent. You look at his size, 6'4", 260. He should be delivering more intense blows, but sometimes he get a bit passive, but yet and still he is a tackling machine, and I think he has an exceptional professional career waiting for him. When you look at his body, he reminds me a lot of Brian Urlacher. Like I said, 6'4", 260. He might not be as athletic or as fast as Brian Urlacher, but I can tell you this much, he hogs all tackles. You got to fight to get a tackle when Zaven Collins is on the football field because he flows that well to the football.
All right, B-Mac, I want to stick with you here for this next one because we're going to talk about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame. Just to show how talented this guy is, yesterday we had him in the safety group. B-Mac, you said you liked him at a safety here, so he is also on Ryan's list for linebackers coming in at number 3. What do you think?
The ultimate tweener, right, Amanda? Where do you play Jeremiah? And I think that would be the biggest concern or question for whatever organization decides to draft him, because he's a very versatile player. And I love how Notre Dame utilized his skill set because he made a lot of plays for them. He can blitz. In 2019, he had 8.5 sacks. He's one of the best coverage linebackers that will be available in this year's draft. I have my concerns when you talk about facing the run, north and south, just a ground and pound attack that's coming downhill. He lacks consistency in that area. But when you talk about flowing to the football, the lateral movement, east to west, he beats you to the football any given time because he's that type of player. I really see Jeremy Chinn in Jeremiah. The way how the Carolina Panthers utilized Jeremy Chinn, they put him in positions to be successful. He's an extraordinary athlete. He can do a lot. And Jeremiah can provide the same elements for whatever team decides to draft him. Like I said, the biggest question mark with Jeremiah when you draft him, where do you play him? They have to come up with a great scheme to be able to get the most that he has to offer.
B-Mac, I love the Jeremy Chinn comparison. That's a great one. I was just scribbling down some names. Isaiah Simmons comes to mind, another guy who was a tweener, took a few games, maybe a month to find his footing in the NFL. The guy you just guys talked to on All Things Covered, Derwin James, was sort of a tweener. And that's the type of mold that you have with Owusu-Koramoah. The issue is how much is he going to weigh, because he might have played around 200 pounds last year at Notre Dame. And if that's the case, he's not playing linebacker. There's no doubt about that. But the ability to drop into coverage, to cover people, the sideline to sideline speed, that's what gets your attention. He'll probably be playing more going back than coming forward. And if you understand that as an NFL team, you're all set. You can certainly find a place for him. But the athleticism is what jumps off the charts at you. You saw it on the field. We'll see it during the testing phase. coming up in the next few weeks, and he'll continue to be a really popular first-round selection.
Ryan, let's go to the fourth guy on your list here, Nick Bolton out of Missouri. I love the way you describe him as a sideline-to-sideline spark plug. So my question for you, right now he's 29th on your latest mock draft going to Green Bay. BMAC was a little questionable about how many linebackers we would actually see in the first round. So do you think he is for sure a first-rounder?
There's no guarantee, but he feels like a bottom of the first round, early second round guy to me. One of the issues is his size. He's 5'11", about 230. That's also the same size as Devin Bush, who I just mentioned earlier. The Steelers traded up to number 10 to get him. We'll see how fast he runs. Devin Bush ran a sub 4.5, so that gets your attention. Nick Bolton's pretty fast, though. You watch him play. He is a sideline-to-sideline burner. One of my favorite games was against Alabama. He was thumping guys left and right. And when you're playing Alabama, you're playing against a bunch of kids that are going to be playing in the NFL. Here it is against Ole Miss. Elijah Moore, another wide receiver, has a chance to get drafted early. He gets after it. And not only is he great going forward, he is great sideline to sideline and dropping into coverage. And you know, we've been talking about this whole segment. Linebackers in today's NFL have to be able to coverage. They have to have ball skills. Nick Bolton has that and then some. If he went somewhere like the Packers or the Saints at the bottom of round one, that would make a ton of sense for me, but he could also sneak into the top of round two.
The fifth guy on Ryan's list, Jamin Davis out of Kentucky. This is somebody we've actually not talked a lot about, at least on HQ. So BMAC, introduce us to him a little bit more, your breakdown of him and where you think we could see him go.
6'4", 230 plus. I mean, when he walks off the bus, he will make the all-look team. He looks phenomenal in his uniform. He's a dominant linebacker at the line of scrimmage. Anytime he's around the line of scrimmage, he's he's going to penetrate the interior offensive lineman and play on the opposite side of the line. He tackles well. He had 3 interceptions last year, which is a bit strange because he didn't drop a lot in coverage. They utilized him more so in run support, but he found ways to get his hands on the football, and he caught those said passes. There you have it. Had a real good game against Tennessee. I mean, the entire Kentucky's defense had a great game against Tennessee. He's a ball hunter. He hunts the football. Only a one-year starter. He's not as refined as some of the other linebackers that we have highlighted. I have my concerns there. He lacks experience, but he loves the game of football. I would love to see him be more technical sound with his hands when it comes to getting off blockers. Sometimes he allows the offensive lineman to get into his chest, and he can't get off of them. If he can be more precise with his hand usage, I think he would be a better linebacker, especially when you talk about inside the line of scrimmage. But in all, it's hard to turn down and overlook 6'4", 232 that tackles well and runs well. I can't wait to see exactly what he will do for his pro day. We don't know what they will do with the combine, but when it comes to going through the drills, I think he can either earn a lot of money or lose a few dollars. But I think the potential is there for him to earn more money.
All right, BMAC, Ryan Wilson, you guys hang on just a second. We've got running backs and wide receivers coming up next. But first, I want to tell you about the All Things Covered podcast with Patrick Peterson and our very own Bryant McFadden. As Ryan mentioned, Derwin James on the show, also talking about Justin Herbert and the Chargers' future, the very latest podcast there. Make sure to download and subscribe. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.